You had gold in your hands, and you threw it in the trash. So now, folks, listen to me. You want them to come back? Then don't you dare disappear. Because vanishing is easy. Silence is easy. Blocking, ghosting, hiding, that's what they expect you to do. They want you quiet. They want you gone. Why? Because it makes them comfortable. Because it confirms the lie that you were just another page in their story. Forgettable, replaceable, irrelevant. But you're not. You don't disappear when you're chosen. You don't vanish when you're being forged. You show up. You rise. You become. Because this pain, this betrayal, it wasn't random. It was divine. This isn't just heartbreak. This is the universe carving something inside you that no one will be able to ignore. This isn't rejection. It's selection. You were chosen, my friend. Chosen to be different. Chosen to stand in the storm and still radiate so hard that it blinds the ones who walked away from your light. They didn't break you. They built you without knowing it. Every lie they told, every time they made you feel like too much, every time they disappeared without an explanation, that wasn't weakness. That was alchemy. The transformation has already started, and the universe, it used their cruelty like sandpaper, rough, ugly, painful, to polish you into something rare, something they'll crave when it's too late. You're not meant to shrink. You're not meant to hide. You're meant to shine, and not in a soft, safe, spiritual way. No, you're going to shine so bright it offends them. Your growth will humiliate their ego. Your energy will haunt the silence they thought they could enjoy without you. Because here's the truth. When someone leaves a chosen one, it never ends there. It only starts the fire. They walk away thinking you'll chase, that you'll break, that you'll stay stuck in that loop of needing closure. But the version of you that's rising now, that version doesn't beg, it doesn't explain, it commands attention without even asking for it. You don't disappear, you evolve in front of them, you post, you laugh, you succeed, not to get their attention, but because you finally see who you are. You weren't just someone they used. You were the flame they couldn't hold, the peace they weren't ready to receive. And now, you're becoming so magnetic that even strangers will feel pulled toward you, and the ones who let you go, they'll hate themselves for it. Your energy is about to get so pure, so sharp, so powerful, that it pierces through timelines. The version of them that didn't choose you will start collapsing. They'll scroll and see you shining. They'll hear your name in places they never expected. And that pain, that drop in their chest, that's not guilt. That's spiritual consequence. You were chosen, and they walked away from prophecy. So no, you don't disappear. You ascend. You rise so loud they can't look away. And when they do, finally turn to look again, the light will be so strong it will burn their pride before it heals their regret. Write this in the comments right now. I am chosen. Say it with fire. Say it with power. Say it for every betrayal that was actually a cosmic blessing. Smash that like button if you're done hiding, subscribe if you're ready to become unforgettable, and stay with me, because next we're diving into how chosen ones are not healed by love, but forged by pain. Number 1, they didn't reject you. They underestimated you. Rejection isn't a loss, it's miscalculation, and you're about to become their worst one. Let that rip through every lie they made you believe. Let it break the illusion that their absence was ever a reflection of your value. Because they didn't reject you, my friend. They underestimated you. And the worst part? You believed them. You lowered your head, questioned your worth, and sat in silence, as if their inability to see your glow somehow meant it wasn't real. But let's get something straight right now. You were never the problem. You were the prophecy. And they treated you like a side character in a story you were born to lead. See, when small people see greatness, they don't admire it, they fear it. And fear disguises itself as rejection. That's why they pulled back. That's why they disappeared. That's why they ran to someone else who felt safer, easier, more predictable. Not better, not brighter, just familiar. Because your presence lit up every room they walked in pretending to own. Your love didn't just comfort them, it exposed them. You made them feel like they could be more, and they weren't ready to meet that version of themselves. So instead of rising with you, they rejected you. Not because you weren't enough, but because they weren't ready to rise. Imagine this. You hand someone a treasure chest. Inside is loyalty, peace, emotional safety, fire, depth. And what do? They toss it like trash, like some cheap gift they didn't ask for. And now you're the one sitting there wondering if maybe you were too intense, too loving, too available. You're not too much. You were just in front of someone who was too little, too shallow to swim in your depth, too broken to recognize what they were holding. They didn't see your light because their eyes weren't supposed to. And yet here you are, turning your power down, questioning yourself, folding into silence. Why? Because someone with no vision couldn't see gold in daylight. Because someone who treats loyalty like an inconvenience made you feel like a doormat. My friend, stop playing small to fit into someone else's weak perception. They saw your value. That's the part that burns them now. They saw it and still walked away, not because they didn't feel it, but because it terrified them. You might be asking, but what if I never find love like that again? What if I really wasn't enough? What if they're happier now without me? And here's my answer. You won't find love like that again, because next time, you're not giving that level of you to someone who didn't earn it. You'll love again, yes, but it will be from power, from discernment, from elevation, not desperation, not loneliness. You're not looking for someone to fix your heart. You're becoming the kind of person who doesn't need fixing to begin with. Let me tell you what's really happening behind the scenes. This rejection, it was a reroute, a divine redirection. The universe didn't let them choose you because they weren't capable of honoring what you carry. You were chosen, yes, but not by them. Chosen by something higher. Chosen for a path that doesn't make sense to the average mind. A path that forges you into a magnetic force. The kind of person who doesn't chase love, because love starts chasing them. You're not walking away to disappear. You're walking into your awakening. And it's gonna hurt, I won't lie. You'll feel it in the quiet, in the unanswered texts, in the way their name still makes your chest tighten. But pain is not punishment, it's preparation. That heartbreak wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to ignite you. The version of you that let yourself be treated like a doormat. That version dies now, today, this moment. Because from here forward you rise, you shine, you evolve so visibly that the people who once looked past you now can't look away. They didn't choose you, but you choose you. You choose growth. You choose clarity. You choose to become so undeniable that the next time someone underestimates you, they remember it as the day they lost something eternal. Because now you don't react. You upgrade. You don't prove. You become. You're not out here seeking validation. You're commanding presence, quiet, powerful, inevitable. You were never the option. You were always the answer. They just didn't know how to read it. So stop mourning the door that closed. It didn't shut you out. It sealed them off from your energy, from your future, from the version of you that would have changed their life. Let them sit in comfort. Let them post the happy pictures. Let them laugh for the camera, because deep down they know what they threw away, and it's going to follow them. Not because you said anything, but because silence isn't empty. It echoes. This is your moment. You rise now. No more waiting. no more shrinking, no more folding to fit their small expectations. You are the miscalculation they will regret for the rest of their life. Let that be your fire, let that be your standard, and let this be your reminder. Write this in the comments right now. I was never rejected, I was chosen. Say it for every tear you cried in silence. Say it for every time you questioned your magic. Say it so loud the universe hears it and clears every path in front of you. Smash that like button if you're done letting people treat you like trash. Subscribe if you're ready to rise into the version of you that no one dares to underestimate again. And stay with me, because next we're going into what happens when your presence becomes the addiction they can't recover from. Number 2, stop being the option they think they can revisit. As long as you're available, you're forgettable. That's not just a quote, it's a warning, a hard truth. And the reason you keep ending up confused, drained, and staring at your phone like it owes you answers. You think they ghosted you because they were confused. You think they breadcrumbed you because they weren't ready. No, my friend, they did it because they could. Because every time they disappeared, you waited. Every time they came back, you smiled. Every time they gave you the bare minimum, you called it a sign of hope. But let's call it what it is. You've been an option, a backup plan, a safe shelf they reach for when their life gets quiet and empty. And that ends now. This isn't love, this is access abuse, and it only works because you've kept the door unlocked. You've made yourself emotionally available to someone who sees your heart as a convenience store, open 24/7, no effort required. Every time they go off and get bored, disappointed, or ignored by someone else, they know exactly where to return, right back to you, because you've trained them to expect it. You've taught them that you'll answer, you'll forgive, you'll wait, and now you're wondering why they don't value you. They don't value you because you've been too accessible for someone who hasn't even earned the right to know how you're doing. Listen to me carefully. Chosen ones are not backup plans. You don't get used and returned like some dusty item they forgot they had. You are not their emotional safety net. You are not their test dummy while they figure out who they are. You are fire, you are healing, you are sacred, and you don't hand that out like samples at a store. You protect it, you require effort, you demand presence, because anything less than that is a violation of what you carry. And I know you want to believe they'll come back and finally get it. That they'll wake up one morning and say, I was wrong. But you have to understand, regret doesn't grow where comfort lives. And right now, you're too comfortable. Your softness is keeping them spoiled. It's time to pull back. No more softness in the inbox. No more likes on their photos. No more checking their stories. No more giving them the satisfaction of knowing they still live rent-free in your energy. That's not power. That's emotional slavery. You want to know what real power is? It's going quiet without warning. It's stopping the good morning texts. It's removing yourself from their emotional economy. It's not revenge, it's restoration. Because the energy you've been wasting on them, that energy is meant to rebuild you, to fortify your soul, to remind you that being chosen isn't just about being special, it's about being disciplined. The universe didn't call you to this path so you could be someone's second thought. You were never made to be someone they run to when loneliness hits. You were designed to be a standard they can't meet until they transform. Stoic law: never reward inconsistency with access. You cannot keep handing grace to people who make a pattern out of abandoning you. Your heart isn't a revolving door. You're not letting them in one more time just so they can disrespect you a little more creatively. That stops here. The version of you that used to wait, that used to hope, that used to hurt in silence, that version is done, dead, buried, and in its place rises someone rare, someone untouchable, someone so grounded in their worth, even the ghosters feel ghosted. Let them feel it. Let them wonder. Let them open their inbox and sit in the cold absence of your warmth. They took it for granted. Let them freeze. Because now, you're no longer the safe place they return to. You're the memory that scorches when they realize it's gone. You were never forgettable. You were just always available. And now that you're not, the silence will scream louder than any message ever could. Write this in the comments right now. I revoke access. Say it for every night you waited. Say it for every breadcrumb you accepted like it was a full meal. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you're no longer the option. You're the origin. Smash that like button if you're done being easy to reach. Subscribe if you're ready to become the presence they can't earn again. And stay with me, because next, we're diving into the silence that starves their ego, and why your emotional distance is about to drive them insane. Number 3. The absence strategy. How to starve their ego without saying a word. You're not punishing them, you're cutting off their supply. That's not cruelty, that's clarity, that's survival. Because some of you still think your silence is mean, that pulling back makes you the bad one. But let's expose the truth. They didn't love you, they fed off you. Your kindness, food, your forgiveness, fuel, your attention, a hit of validation every time their ego got bruised. You weren't in a relationship, you were in a feeding cycle, and now it's time to starve the parasite. You think they're gone and not looking back. You think your absence doesn't matter. But you have no idea how addicted they were to your energy until it's gone. People don't miss love, they miss the control. They miss the comfort of knowing you'll still answer, that you'll still check in, that you'll still offer them light even while they're out here dragging you through emotional mud. And the only way to break that cycle is to cut the cord completely. No goodbye, no closure, no explanation, just distance, just silence, just absence so sharp they start questioning their worth instead of yours. It's not punishment, it's starvation. Because as long as you're available, they're full of themselves, full of options, full of that twisted confidence that tells them they'll never leave. I've got time. But remove the supply. Stop feeding them that love, that forgiveness, that emotional safety. Now we're talking regret. Now their ego doesn't just hurt, it starves. Let me paint it clearly. Imagine someone walking into a room every day and finding a warm meal on the table. No effort, no gratitude, no thought. It's just always there. And one day, they show up, and the table's empty. No note, no warning, just nothing. That's the absence strategy. That's how you haunt someone without ever raising your voice, because the silence isn't empty, it echoes. It rings in their head louder than anything you ever said. And the best part, you didn't have to block, you didn't have to beg, you didn't have to burn the bridge, you just stopped showing up. You see, when you're always available, you become background noise. Easy, predictable, a safety net they don't fear losing. But when you disappear without drama, without breakdowns, you stop being a person they control, and you become a presence they can't replace. Your absence becomes a mirror that reflects who they really are without your light, insecure, lost, average. And they'll start to feel it, but they won't show it. Because admitting they miss you means admitting they were wrong, admitting they abused your access. So instead, they'll post, they'll pretend, they'll act. But behind all that noise, they're starving. Because attention isn't just a want for people like that, it's a drug. And you were their cleanest, purest supply, the hit that made them feel powerful. And now that it's gone, nothing else compares. Not the rebounds, not the shallow validation, not the games. You were real, and real haunts. My friend, this is where you reclaim everything. You don't chase, you don't explain, you don't post quotes hoping they get the message. You vanish emotionally. You become so unavailable that they start to question if they ever really had you at all. And that's when regret doesn't just knock, it erupts. Because they didn't just lose someone, they lost access to the one soul that made them feel seen without earning it. Write this in the comments right now. I starve the ego. Say it like a vow. Say it for every apology you gave when they were the one in the wrong. Say it for every night you kept that emotional buffet open, hoping they'd finally be full enough to stay. Smash that like button if you're done feeding the ungrateful. Subscribe if you're ready to become the absence they never recover from. And stay with me, because next, we're diving into chaos. How to destroy their certainty by becoming completely unpredictable. Number 4. Kill their fantasy. Become unpredictable. The moment they can't read you, they start replaying everything. And that's the crack. That's when it all begins to unravel. Because people like them, the manipulators, the ghosters, the ones who breadcrumb you just enough to keep you hooked, they thrive on predictability. They don't need to own you, they just need to predict you. Your responses, your reactions, your emotional patterns, your pain, your forgiveness. That's how they stay in control. Not by being consistent, but by making you predictable. They know how this game goes. They hurt you, disappear, then circle back like nothing happened, and you cry, you ask why, you post cryptic quotes, you send that one last message, maybe you block them, then unblock. You break your silence, and with it, your power. And they know this script. They've seen this movie. You've played this part. And as long as you keep playing it, they never feel regret. They feel control. But what if the story suddenly changes? What if the main character they've always been able to manipulate suddenly goes off script? That's what breaks them. That's what drives them insane. When the one they hurt no longer acts hurt. When the one they used to predict becomes a mystery they can't decode. You want to burn them with regret? You don't yell, you don't cry, you don't over-explain. You disrupt the rhythm, you change the pattern, you introduce chaos, emotional chaos, psychological confusion. You become unpredictable, not out of spite, but out of strategy. They expect anger. Give them calm. They expect a message. Give them silence. They expect weakness. Give them evolution. They expect to come back and find you right where they left you. Same energy, same loyalty, same wide-open heart. Instead, they come back to something they don't recognize. You, upgraded. You, focused. You, unreachable. That's when the replay starts. That's when they lie awake at night, scanning every memory of you, trying to figure out what changed. What did they miss? Why aren't you reacting? Who are you becoming? And here's the part they'll never admit. Your chaos becomes their obsession, because routine is safe, routine is boring, but the unknown, the unexpected, that's where the mind spirals, that's where their ego collapses. Because when they can't read you, they can't control you. And when they can't control you, they start losing control of themselves. You ever seen someone scroll your page 100 times but never like a post? You ever watch someone mimic your energy from a distance, trying to figure out how you moved on without them? That's not curiosity. That's internal collapse. That's their illusion of dominance shattering. You were supposed to break. Instead, you glowed, you laughed, you leveled up. Not for them, but right in front of them. And don't get it twisted. This isn't about revenge. This is about refusing to be the predictable character in someone else's twisted game. This is about taking your energy back and becoming so unfathomable they can't even speak your name without swallowing regret. This is about creating psychological silence. Not the kind that fades, but the kind that echoes in their head every time they try to figure you out and fail. Let them wonder, let them obsess, let them try to recreate you in people who can't even hold your shadow. Because the mystery, that's what haunts. Not the goodbye, not the silence, but the fact that they don't know what version of you they'd even be coming back to, and if that version would even let them in. Write this in the comments right now. I broke the pattern. Say it like a thunderclap. Say it for every time they thought you'd still be waiting. Say it for every lie they told themselves about how easy it would be to come back. Smash that like button if you're done being predictable. Subscribe if you're ready to become the riddle they'll never solve. And stay with me, because next we're going into discipline, how to destroy their comfort without ever raising your voice. Number 5. You don't need closure. You need discipline. Stop texting your value into people who can't hear it. That's not healing, that's self-betrayal. That's you bleeding out in paragraphs, hoping it'll finally make them understand something they already know, but never cared about. You don't need closure, you need discipline, because closure is the lie they sold you to keep you talking, to keep you vulnerable, to keep you from walking all the way out of their life. It's not resolution they want, it's relevance. And your words, your pain, your hope, that's what keeps them feeling important long after they stopped showing up. Let me say it plain. If they were capable of closure, they wouldn't have left in confusion. They wouldn't have ghosted you, betrayed you, ignored your needs, and then circled back just enough to leave you emotionally spinning. They know what they did. Don't let that twisted voice in your head keep whispering, "Maybe they didn't understand." No, my friend. They understood perfectly. They just never cared enough to change. And every time you reach out, trying to explain your heart again, trying to spell out your pain, like maybe this time they'll finally get it, you're not getting closure, you're giving access. Again, let's break the illusion. You're not texting them because you need clarity. You're texting them because you want a reaction. You want proof that they still care, even if it's buried under cold words or fake kindness. But here's the bitter pill. Every time they respond without change, without depth, without accountability, it costs you something. It chips away at your peace, your dignity, your evolution. You keep reaching for closure when you should be reaching for discipline, because Stoic truth? Silence is the final chapter. That's it. No part 2. No, maybe one day we'll talk again. Just peace. Just walking away without a speech, without a final tear-stained message, without a grand finale. You know what's more powerful than closure? Vanishing mid-sentence. Not because you're weak, but because you finally realize that your worth is not up for negotiation. You don't have to explain your soul to someone who played games with your presence. And I get it. It's hard. That phone feels heavy. That urge to reach out feels holy. It's that echo in your chest telling you, just one more message, just say everything and let it go. But how many last messages have you sent already? How many "I just need to get this off my chest" texts have ended in more pain, more confusion, more emptiness? At some point, you've got to wake up and admit it to yourself. Closure isn't coming from them. It's coming from you. Discipline is doing what's hard when your feelings are screaming for relief. It's choosing silence even when your heart wants to speak. It's protecting your energy like a vault because you finally see yourself as sacred, not disposable. This is where you stop performing your pain for people who don't respect it. This is where you decide that your peace is more important than their attention. And they'll feel it. Oh, trust me, they'll feel it. The silence will speak louder than any message you could have sent, because they're used to noise, they're used to emotional reactions, they're used to you reaching out and keeping them relevant in your world. But now, you're gone, emotionally, energetically, spiritually, and when they go to check the inbox and it's empty, when they refresh your story and there's nothing, when they realize the audience is gone, that's the real ending. And it won't be loud, it'll be quiet, stoic, divine. Write this in the comments right now. My silence is my closure. Say it like it's your final word. Say it for every time you over-explained, over-apologized, over-gave. Say it for every part of you that thought closure had to come wrapped in their approval. Smash that like button if you're ready to stop performing for people who don't deserve a front row seat to your soul. Subscribe if you're ready to end the cycle for good. And stay with me, because next we're stepping into the energy shift, how your presence, once disciplined, becomes a force they'll never recover from. Number 6. Posture over pursuit. Your energy is the real weapon. Attraction isn't about words. It's about withdrawal, evolution, and aura. That right there? That's the code. That's the formula they don't teach you. Not in school, not in movies, not in all those fake love songs, because they told you to fight for love, to chase it, to prove your worth through effort. But what they didn't tell you is that real attraction, the kind that grips someone's soul, the kind that keeps them awake at night long after you've gone, that doesn't come from words. It comes from posture, from energy, from the way you stop trying and start becoming. You want to be unforgettable. Stop chasing. Stop sending paragraphs. Stop posting just to get their attention. Stop hoping they'll notice your pain and come running. That's not power. That's performance. And you weren't born to be someone's emotional entertainer. You're not out here putting on a show, waiting for applause from someone who didn't even value front row seats. No, you're stepping into something higher now. You're learning that the most dangerous energy on this planet is withdrawal with purpose. When you pull back, not out of anger, but out of alignment, you shift everything. They feel it. The same way a room feels colder when a warm light is suddenly gone. You don't need to announce your glow-up. You don't need to post thirst traps and highlight reels to prove you're evolving. That's surface level. Real transformation haunts because it doesn't try to prove anything. It just is. It radiates. And it starts when you stop pursuing and start upgrading. Not to show them what they lost, but because you've finally realized you were the one lost while trying to be loved by someone who wasn't even looking for real. Fix your posture, lift your chin, fix your life, fix your frequency, hit the gym, start the business, read the books, elevate your space, get your skin glowing, your body clean, your presence sharper than ever. But not for them, for you, for the version of you that's been buried under heartbreak, waiting to rise. You're not doing this to make them miss you. You're doing this because you're tired of missing yourself. That's what they'll feel. That's what will haunt them. Not your sadness, not your anger, but your absence wrapped in power. That eerie calm in your vibe. That upgrade they didn't witness. That transformation they weren't a part of. That's the punch, because their ego was counting on you staying stuck. They thought your world revolved around them. They thought they broke you. And now, you're out here glowing like the pain never happened. Like they were just a footnote in a much bigger story. That's when the regret kicks in. Let them watch from the sidelines. Let them hear about your success through whispers. Let them feel that shift in the universe and wonder if it's about you. You don't need to send updates. You don't need to post for approval. The right energy speaks before you enter the room and keeps echoing long after you've left. That's posture. That's spiritual dominance. That's the aura of someone who doesn't chase, because they've become the prize, the source, the experience. You want revenge? Radiate. You want them to miss you. Evolve so deeply they can't recognize you anymore. Not because you're trying to hurt them, but because you finally stopped hurting yourself. Write this in the comments right now. My energy is the flex. Say it with presence. Say it for every time you watered down your aura to be more digestible. Say it for the nights you stayed small to keep someone comfortable. Smash that like button if you're done pursuing what doesn't honor you. Subscribe if you're ready to turn your presence into the storm they never saw coming. And stay with me, because next we're going to pull back the curtain on the fantasy of them coming back and show why your evolution is the one thing they'll never outrun. Number 7. Replace the fantasy of them coming back with the reality of them watching you rise. They're watching, but now you're untouchable. That's the shift. That's the reality you need to burn into your mind, because for too long you've been living in a fantasy that one day they'll come back, that one day they'll say, I finally get it, I see your worth, I choose you. You've rehearsed it in your head 1,000 times, the apology, the tears, the regret, the movie-ending moment where it all makes sense and the pain finally becomes worth it. But my friend, it's time to wake up. That fantasy, it's a trap. It's emotional poison wrapped in false hope, and you were never meant to be stuck there. You've been delaying your rise because you were too busy hoping for theirs. But let's tell the truth, the real truth. They're not coming back because they suddenly evolved. They're not returning with healed hearts and brand new eyes. No, if they come back at all, it'll be for one reason, because your energy changed, because the version of you they thought they broke is gone, because now you walk with peace that doesn't include them. And that, right there, that's the moment that shatters their illusion of control. They stalk in silence. Don't doubt it for a second. They're watching from behind fake confidence and dry conversations, scrolling, checking, wondering. Not because they miss loving you, but because they miss being fed by you. They miss the power they had when they knew you'd still care, still wait, still hope. But now you're the version of you that doesn't even flinch when their name pops up. You're the version that laughs for real, that glows without performance, that upgrades in private and radiates in public. Let them watch. Let them sit behind screens and mutual friends, trying to figure out how you became this. Let them scroll through your silence and feel the sting of being on the outside of your peace. Because your comeback, it's not loud. It's not a post. It's not a petty caption. It's graceful. It's quiet. It's undeniable. You don't have to prove your healing. Your presence will scream it. The way you move, the way you smile without guilt, the way you walk into rooms like you don't owe anyone an explanation anymore. That's what hurts the most. That's what haunts. And it's hard. I know it's hard, because the fantasy felt safe. It gave your pain a purpose. It made the suffering easier to swallow. But you weren't meant to stay there. That dream of them coming back, that was a placeholder for the real story. The story where you come back, stronger, clearer, louder in energy, quieter in speech, not to show them anything, but because the truth finally clicked. You were the gift all along. You are no longer the lesson they teach themselves in regret. You're the standard. You're the upgrade they'll search for in every rebound. You're the warmth they'll try to find in colder arms. You're the laugh that plays in their head when the party's over and the bed is empty, and they won't say it. They'll act fine. They'll pretend you never mattered. But behind that mask, they're breaking, because they can feel it. Your peace no longer includes them, and your glow no longer needs them. So stop fantasizing about their return. Start focusing on your rise. Replace that desperate hope with divine evolution. Let the memory of you become a ghost that glows, the kind that doesn't just haunt, but outshines. Write this in the comments right now. I choose my rise. Say it for every day you waited. Say it for every night you prayed they'd see your value. Say it with the fire of someone who finally sees their own reflection clearly. Smash that like button if you're done daydreaming about their return. Subscribe if you're ready to let your evolution speak louder than their regret. And stay with me, because next we're going to make it permanent. We're not just rising, we're becoming untouchable. Number 8. Detach so hard they forget who they were with you until it hurts to remember. You were the blessing they buried. Now you're the ghost that whispers through their peace. That's what they didn't see coming, that the same presence they took for granted would become the silence they can't escape. And now it haunts them, not like a scream, but like a whisper. Quiet, constant, chilling. That's what happens when you stop trying to prove your worth and start mastering the one thing they never expected you to do: detach. But not that fake detachment. Not the kind where you're still watching their stories. Not the kind where you block them hoping they'll notice. No, real detachment. The kind that feels like you vanished into thin air. No closure, no warning, just a clean, sharp shift. Because detachment isn't passive, it's surgical. It's you removing their grip on your spirit with the precision of someone who's done bleeding for people who only knew how to feed off you. They thought they could come back whenever. That's the lie their ego told them. Because you were always the soft landing, always the one with open arms, a heart still beating with loyalty, even after they ghosted, cheated, disappeared. But not anymore. Now you don't even flinch. Now you don't explain. Now you're not cold. You're unavailable. Emotionally, energetically, spiritually, gone. And that's what terrifies them. Not that you're angry, but that they no longer have a door to knock on. You're not fighting to be in their thoughts. That was the old you. The one who texted paragraphs, posted for attention, stayed up late trying to decode their mixed signals. The new you. You let your absence speak. You let your silence torment their pride. And it does. Because they don't remember the fights. They remember your smile. They remember the way your voice made things softer. The way your presence made them feel like they mattered. And now that it's gone, everything feels colder, emptier, worse. And you didn't yell, you didn't slam the door, you just left the space. You stopped bringing warmth into a room where you were being frozen out. You stopped overgiving. You stopped begging for effort. You stopped reminding someone to value what should have never been questioned in the first place. Now they sit in silence, and it's deafening. They try to move on. They try to laugh. They try to pretend. But no matter where they go, your memory follows. Not because you're chasing them, but because you're the last place they felt something real. They search for you in strangers. They try to recreate your energy in shallow connections. But nothing hits the same. Nothing holds them like you did. No one else knows how to love the parts of them you accepted without effort. And when they finally realize what they've lost, it won't be during some dramatic breakdown. It'll be when everything's quiet, when they're lying in bed next to someone who doesn't feel like home, when they hear your favorite song and have to pause to breathe, when they laugh but it doesn't reach their chest. That's when the ghost of your presence enters the room. Not loud, not bitter. Just a reminder, you were the blessing, and they buried you. You don't have to fight to be remembered. Your detachment has already done the work. You were gold. They wanted glitter. Now they're left with dust. So let's bring it all together. You weren't rejected. You were redirected. You weren't abandoned. You were chosen to rise beyond the shallow places they left you in. Your silence, your evolution, your discipline, that's the real closure. Now it's your time to glow so loud, they regret blinking. If this spoke to your soul, don't keep it to yourself. Share this with someone who's done begging for crumbs. Smash that like button, subscribe for more raw truth and power, and drop your affirmation in the comments. Stay with me. Your transformation is just getting started.